Good evening, Lucifer Apollo here with a continuation of this strange and wonderful book. Part 2, Enlightenment, Chapter 5. The next morning I was awakened by the sound of violins softly playing in the distance. What a nice way to wake up, I thought to myself. I looked around to see what time it was, and I remembered that I hadn't seen a clock in the entire castle. Talawanda didn't seem too concerned about time. Even my own watch had stopped working. I enjoyed a hot bubble bath in the luxurious sunken tub which came with the room. So far, this vacation was much more than I had ever dreamed of. Talawanda timing was perfect. I had just finished getting dressed when there was a knock on my bedroom door. I somehow knew it was him before I opened it. He took my hand and smiled. "How's my darling?" "I'm having a wonderful time," I say. "It pleases me very much to hear that. After breakfast we shall begin your lessons. What would you like to learn about today?" I laugh and say, "That's a great way to teach. Well, let me think. Something that has always bothered me is an old saying that I hear in church: know thyself. I know who I am, of course, but somehow I feel like I'm missing something. Do you think you could help me understand that better?" Talawanda smiled and shrugged his shoulder. "I don't know, maybe I've been trying to get people to understand that one for a long time. It's probably the most important thing that anyone could learn, because once you understand who you really are, then a lot of the other mysteries and confusions of our life will vanish." I tried to explain it. Without stopping for breakfast, we went directly to the stables where he had a fabulous selection of fine throughout breed horses. The stable attendant escorted a magnificent old white horse named Patron Saint in our direction. Talawanda asked, "Is he all warmed up and ready to go?" "All set," the attendant replied happily. I jiggle at Talawanda and say, "I was almost expecting to see a flying horse with wings." He looked at me with a great big smile and replied, "All in good time, my dear. All in good time." We both laughed as we hopped up into Patron Saint. The attendant handed Talawanda a small picnic basket and we were off. The horse trotted energetically for about 10 minutes as he took us to a beautiful scenic meadow with a quiet stream. "Gee, that was fun," I laughed as Talawanda assisted me down from the saddle. Talawanda let Patron Saint gaze and drink as we prepared our picnic side. After eating, Talawanda uttered, well, let's see now. Know thyself. Easier said than done, it will seem." He looked over at me and asked, "First of all, who do you think you are?" I replied, "I am me. This body here." Talawanda grinned and inquired, "Well, it seems that you have it all figured out. Are you satisfied with your certainty about who you are?" I answered, "I still get this feeling that some piece to the puzzle is missing." Talawanda nodded his head and said, "You're right, something is missing. The truth. The truth is, you are not a body. You never have been. Of course, you can very easily pretend that you are a body, but it's only a pretense. Never pretend too hard on that one. It will get you into too many problems. People think that when the body dies, their soul leaves their body. I hate to tell you this, but you do not have a soul. A soul is not something you have. It's something you are. You are the soul. You are it. A long, long time ago, you didn't need a body. You play amongst the stars, happy and free, long before bodies were ever invented. It was quite normal for you to move objects around without the aid of limbs and muscles. You simply levitated things from here to there. But I'm afraid that levitation is a thing of the past, except for being part of some magician's bag of tricks. Even telepathy is all but forgotten in the physical universe. It has been replaced by anger, distrust. Perfect, well understood communication existed long before mouths, voices, and hateful words were ever dreamed of. A trillion years would pass without a single pain or sorrow. Games were played where everyone would win. There was never a loser. No need for uniforms with numbers to identify the players. You knew each other without the aid of bodies and names. You were immortals. You knew nothing of agony, grief, or failure. Before bodies, you knew nothing of the restriction. You could span a galaxy with your touch or embrace a planet with affection. You were creative, loving souls. By a mere thought, you could bring a planet into existence or explode a million stars in celebration to a loved one. You were carefree souls. You played new and exciting games, never a thought that your wisdom and immortality could be forgotten. But then bodies were invented and played with, much like wind-up toy animals or dolls. You were big at first in comparison to these interesting animations. In the beginning, there was never a doubt that you existed outside and independent to these cute animated little toys. Games were played with these new toys. They drew much attention. At first, the games were fun and harmless, but as the aeons passed, the rules to the games became more and more complicated. Rules and restrictions made the game more exciting, more interesting, and more convincing. One rule which made history was each creature must eat and breathe to maintain activity. If it does not eat and breathe over a certain length of time, then it is disqualified. You now call this dead. This rule affected the engineering of almost every animation. This rule about eating and breathing is an automatic necessity on Earth today. No one ever questions it or realized that it was just a rule to add detail and fun to the game. The rule about eating turned out to be a bad rule because it led to the killing of one creature by another. It was interesting to watch, but some of the owners got upset. Some of the beings didn't communicate as much as before. They spent their time improving their toys so they could better win at the contests and battles. It was also about this time that various handicaps such as sleep and fatigue were introduced into the rules of the game. Now the creatures had limited endurance and could get tired. These added wonderful and exciting new challenges to the games. At first there was no evil intent, but the games progressed. This fascination with bodies continued. The improvement never stopped. Creatures were equipped so that they could automatically reproduce themselves without having to be manufactured individually. Many beings equipped their toys with better equipment such as bigger teeth and stronger jaws, so they could better destroy the enemy creatures. The fascination continued and the souls communicated to each other less and less. They were getting too involved with the games. Details and rules were added to the engineering of the toys. They were designed with a built-in self-destructive mechanism, now called a lifespan. The type of food they could eat was programmed into them. Rules were established about how fast each type of creature was permitted to reproduce. These rules helped maintain what you now call the balance of nature. A creature which was indestructible was not much fun to play with, so every creature was programmed so that it was vulnerable to various things. Viruses and bacteria were invented. They helped add more challenge to the games. Almost every creature was provided with programmed responses so that it knew what to do in times of danger. This programming was transferable from one generation to another. Most of the toys were equipped so that they could remember friendly and hostile situations. Millions of varieties of creatures were invented, anything from viruses to cabbage to apes. The creatures were super advanced, highly technical biological animations, the ultimate in wind-up toys and dolls. They appeared to be very much alive and aware, but they weren't. Only a soul is alive and aware. The test of whether you are a soul is this: am I aware of being aware? If so, then you're not an animation. They were so well made that it was difficult to tell that they weren't actually alive. Every creature was such a marvel of technical perfection that the beings no longer had to watch over them. The animations were self-perpetuating, totally automatic, living machines. Then the beings made a terrible, terrible mistake. The worst mistake in the history of the physical universe. They invented a new twist to the game. They decided to play a game by getting inside these toys. It was a very special game that everyone could play. A special variety of toy was created just for this new game. It was a very special body known today as the human body. It is a very pretty body. It gives wonderful sensations which encourage reproduction. They were happy and excited to play this new game, but they had to agree to certain rules which will severely limit their powers and awareness. Rules: you must reduce your size and stay inside the head until the body dies or death approaches. Only one body per player at one time. No stealing of body that has already been claimed. You must forget that you are a spiritual being. You must reduce your awareness to a certain level of intelligence and no more. If the body is hurt or attacked by disease, you must agree to feel the pain. Pain was invented to add detail and reality to the games. Foolish invention. You must use the muscles and motor controls of the body only. Use of levitation or telepathy is strictly forbidden. You must pretend wholeheartedly that you are the body. You must take the game seriously and stick to the rules no matter what. If one body is killed or dies, you must immediately return to the game by picking up a new body as soon as one is available. The game is survival. See how long you can keep that one body going no matter what. Start. Here is a simple demonstration to show you how a being can convince himself that his powers are limited. First, make a fist. Now pretend that you cannot open it. If you pretend real hard and manage to convince yourself that you cannot open it, then so be it. Remember, a being can do anything. He can even inflict various handicaps upon himself so that the game of life is more challenging and not so easy to win. A being can even convince himself that he is a human body with many limitations. Perhaps now you can understand the problem with being in the physical universe, particularly human beings. They have convinced themselves of the wrong things. They have inflicted too many handicaps upon themselves. Their own powers and awareness have been reduced to such a low level that now they are confused, hypnotized slaves. Slaves of their own game, trapped by their own illusions. The only escape is to become unhypnotized and unconvinced. One must wake up. That is the only road to freedom. Talawanda paused and then say, I told you too much already. Knowledge is like a pouring water from a glass into a bottle. If you pour too fast, then much will spill and go to waste. You hear things today that are too fantastic to believe, things which few humans will ever dream of. It's pretty hard to know thyself after you agree so hard not to. I was spellbound and begged him to continue. Talawanda, what happened after the game started? He paused and said, horrible things. Perhaps tomorrow I shall tell you. I pleaded, no, please, tell me now. I've been listening to every word. Well, I already told you more than you realize, but as you wish. The more they used the bodies, the more they became accustomed to operating them from inside. It was exciting and different, handling a body from inside. The sensation of sleep and the other feelings which the bodies provided were fascinating to the souls. In the beginning, even pain was merely another interesting sensation. At first, it was difficult to become accustomed to the rules. But with enough practice, they learned how to stay inside the body and feel pain when the body was injured or ill. The rule about limiting one's powers and awareness made the game interesting and challenging. It was difficult at first, but they continued to work at it. They became experts at using the body's muscles. Eventually, levitation was eliminated. Telepathy was still used for a long time. Sounds and symbols had to be developed so that communication could occur by making inscriptions in sand or making sounds with the voice. As the level of communication reduced, the humans broke apart into separate groups. Many souls still desired to get into the game, so they waited for the humans to reproduce and increase the availability of new bodies. As time passed, the game became more and more convincing. It didn't even seem like a game anymore. It became more and more serious. Levitation had become extinct, so tools were designed and constantly improved upon. Eons passed and the tools became technical and languages became highly refined. More eons passed and space travel was achieved. Beings who could once create stars now begin to travel among them in new toys called spacecraft. With space travel, languages, technologies, and civilizations spread throughout the galaxy. As time passed, hatred, jealousy, and anger became commonplace. Beings had totally lost track of who they were. They followed the rules very well. When a body died, there was sorrow and grief. Without a body, a being felt like a lost soul. The body meant everything. When a body died, the being would abandon his prior knowledge and education. He would re-enter the game in a new body, confused and lacking his pure knowledge of who he had been. Today's professor could be tomorrow's Shushan. A variety of religions came into existence, all with good intentions, each one attempting to explain and unravel the mysteries of the universe. Some possessed fragments of the truth, but all were unclear and incomplete. in their explanations. The truth was well buried. We're gonna leave it here today. Next time we will continue with the final reading. We almost done with it. Hopefully you are enjoying it as much as I am. Good night, friends. See you next time.